Hello and welcome back. I'm Roommate and we're talking about Scream 2022 or Scream 5. And so this is going to be spoilers. I already have a spoiler-free video, so go ahead and check that out. And this one, in addition to that one, that are both unscripted. I just saw the movie, the movie showtime was less than 4 hours ago, and I didn't know much going in other than the trailers, so a little bit rambly. Sorry, it's not my favorite style, but anyway, so this is your warning. If you don't want the movie to be spoiled, don't watch this. Watch that one, or watch the movie first, then come back. All right. So, Scream 5. Okay. So what do we have? We have, turns out that the killer, one of the killers from the first movie, Billy Loomis, that his daughter is, that he had an illegitimate daughter with some, I think they're an unknown kid from the high school. Yeah, so not Sydney, I don't think. No, I'm sure of that. It's not Sydney. But anyway, yeah, so she's the main character and she has like a half sister, and apparently like she what do you call it? She found out about her real dad. She thought that her sister's dad was her real dad, but he wasn't. She found out, by the way, this all happens like 5 years before the movie starts. So we're getting all this stuff like it's just told to us, and none of it's like dramatized or anything. It's just like one of those like tell, don't show kind of things. But anyway, so she finds out that her dad was a serial killer, and she decides that she's going to run off and do a bunch of drugs and like leave home, and because she like made her parents get a divorce because she ratted on her mom's infidelity to her dad. So anyway, that's kind of her backstory. And so she has like a estranged relationship with her sister because of that. But at the beginning of the movie, her sister gets attacked by Ghostface as like a way to like lure her back into town. And I guess that's why Ghostface chooses not to kill her, even though she gets like severely wounded. And it's really graphic. That's one thing I guess I probably should have talked more about in the spoiler-free review, is that like this movie gets pretty grisly with like some of the stabbings. There's some really cool stuff where it's like she's putting her hand out to like block getting stabbed and the knife goes through her hand. It looks really convincing. So anyway, but yeah, she seems like she's dead, but turns out she's not. And I guess that's to lure her sister back into town. So then you have this like crew of all of these like high school students that are friends with each other, and they kind of know what's going on with the Woodsboro killings, because this is the 5th time this has happened now. So yeah, that's one of the things that I feel like kind of holds this movie back a little bit, is just that idea that everyone here should like know what's going on so much. And like, for instance, one of the kids is like, his mom is a police officer. She's like a sheriff. She was a deputy in Scream 4. And so they brought her back, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like, it did make this feel more just like Scream 5 as opposed to like something that ignores the previous movies. Because I liked her a lot in Scream 4. In Scream 4, I thought that she was the killer. I always try to guess, and I say always, but I don't really remember like when I saw 1, 2, and 3 if I had guesses for who it was. But because I I mostly remember now. I guess I was a little bit fuzzier on 3 when I resaw it, but I knew definitely like 1 and 2, like who the killers were in that when I rewatched them. But when I watched 4, I didn't know who the killers were, and so I thought it was this lady. Turns out it wasn't. But anyway, so they brought her back, and she, like, her son is like trying to protect himself, right? He wants to, or she wants him to like carry around a taser and pepper spray all the time to try to like keep him safe from Ghostface. And like the other people kind of tease him about it. And it's like, it feels very weird. Like, why would they be teasing him about that? Like, there are people that have been like attacked. Like, I don't know. This is one of the things where it's like, it would make more sense if the movie was more like silly, like if all the characters were meant to be like preposterous, so them acting so strangely would make perfect sense. Like, but no, it like the movie kind of plays them like they're real people, so it seems strange that they would be like critical of him for like wanting to protect himself when like what do you call it, when there are people that are killing each other. Though I guess like one of the people who criticizes him is one of the killers, so I guess it makes sense that they would tease him. But anyway, so like, okay, so but here's really what I'm talking about. Like when I'm saying that there's this feeling of like, shouldn't the characters know better by now? Like, so the sheriff of the town is like, her son is at home alone. She's like leaving to go and pick up some sushi because she doesn't want it delivered, because she doesn't want the sushi to get soggy or some really goofy reason like that. And she's like, she's driving out, she gets a call from Ghostface, and Ghostface is like, yo, check it out, I'm about to kill your son. Isn't that fucking cool? And then she's like, no, that's not fucking cool. Let me like come and stop you. But then like the way how she's gonna stop him is like she's gonna go and like tackle him or something. She calls like the other cops to tell them to like come to her house, sure, but like she wants her son to like go around with like a taser and pepper spray, and she's the sheriff and she doesn't have a gun on her, and she like runs up to her house unarmed, like no explanation, no like, hey, oh man, it sure does suck that I left my gun at home. Boy, what a dumb thing for me to do in this situation. You know, nothing like that, just hoping that the audience doesn't care, I guess. So she like runs to like try to save her son, and then boo, like Ghostface pops out and stabs her to death. And I was just like, what? Like, what? Okay, fine. Like, I feel like it would have been more cool if like Ghostface would have like been wearing a bulletproof vest or something, and she like pulled out the gun, shot Ghostface, and then like Ghostface like falls over, she goes to unmask Ghostface, and Ghostface stabs her. Something at least like that. Or better yet would be like for Ghostface to like jump her in such a way that like it doesn't matter that she has a gun. Like Ghostface is hiding in some place that she wasn't expecting Ghostface to hide, and then stabs her. Yeah, I don't know. It felt weird that she wasn't protected. So anyway, let's see what else was going on. So like you get like, so there's like one of my favorite scenes is like towards the end of the movie where you have like a party that's going on, because I feel like that's one of the best things that you get in these movies, where you have like a bunch of kids that are all drinking, getting high, making out, and like blowing off this whole like, oh, there's a killer, who gives a shit, like that kind of vibe. It's a good time, and it takes the movie like forever to get to that point, but like when it does, it's really cool. And you have like this scene where like this couple is making out, and like they're like finally gonna like go all the way with each other. And then like the guy is like, I don't know if I should really like be alone with you right now, you know, like I'm not 100% sure you're not the killer. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not the killer, don't get me wrong, but I think it would be safer, you know, since everybody else is around. And then she's like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're saying that you think that I'm the killer. Like, you don't trust me. And she like storms off. I feel like that was like the highlight of the movie. And if the movie would have like stuck with those characters more, it would have been awesome. And like, they do get some screen time. Like, don't get me wrong. Like it's just like for a pretty long stretch in the middle, they kind of like are missing. But like, so yeah, anyway, so like she like storms off, and then he like is texting her to like go and find her. And then like she has like, she's sending him this thing to like GPS track each other's phones. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea. But they've already like talked about, like, not even just in previous movies, like in this movie, they've already talked about how like Ghostface is like cloning people's phones. And like, it's not like he's getting like a video chat from her or like anything like that would like make him think like, oh yeah, this is legit. It's just like her phone is randomly saying like, I want to know your location. And then he's like, sure, I want to know your location. And then he like walks up like to it. It's like away from the party. And then she's like, she's not there. And then he's like, oh, screw this. And then, oh boy, like freaking Ghostface comes out and stabs him a bunch. But hey, even though it looked like he was dead, like that guy survived. He was there. He was alive at the end of the movie. So that was cool, because I'd say like he was one of my favorite characters. There were some like pretty good characters, like, so like he and his sister were like the nephew and niece of like Jamie Kennedy's character from the first couple of movies. So I thought that they were really fun, and I'm glad that they both survived this movie. Though like she kind of like checks out towards the end. Like she gets stabbed once, and she kind of just like disappears and then reappears at the end when they're like carrying her in. But yeah, so I'd say that was like one of my favorite scenes. One of my other favorite scenes was like earlier in the movie, once they get like Dewey to like come and help them. They all like sit around and talk about like requels, and like she's this sister is like really like leading the conversation, talking about the movie, and it's pretty sweet. So I really liked that. Like I was saying in my spoiler free review, I feel like that's one of the strongest things this movie has going for it, is like that sort of like commentary angle. But yeah. Oh, so when after Ghostface stabs the sheriff lady, and then like the son is like there, and he doesn't know that his mom's been stabbed. He like Ghostface is around the house, and for some reason the cops are taking like 1,000,000 years to get to the house. And so he ends up getting stabbed, and he gets like, they push him up against a wall and like stab him through the neck, and it looks awesome. Like I don't know. I feel like maybe it was all digital, or maybe it was like a combination of practical and digital effects or something. But whatever they did, it looks amazing. Like it really looks convincing, and like his acting was really good too. It feels like just a really good kill. So yeah, that was great. Then like when you get the reveal of like who, well, I guess before I talk about the reveal, I want to say that some of the other stuff that I liked about like what leading up to the killer, or like the final part of the movie, like where the bloodbath really happens, is like you have the characters are like teasing each other, like one girl goes to get like a beer from the fridge, and then like another girl is like hiding behind the fridge door, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, you got to be more careful than that. Like, how was I able to sneak up on you? And then she's like, yeah, but what if I'm the killer? And she's like, and then the other one's like, yeah, but what if I'm the killer? And like that kind of back and forth. That was really cool. So I really liked those scenes. But yeah, it turns out that the one who was getting the beer was one of the killers, and the other killer was like the main character's boyfriend, who was like pretended like he didn't care about the movies, but then he pretended he was like, I'm gonna watch them since we're in this situation. So I was kind of thinking like maybe that would come up and be a little bit more relevant or something, but he didn't ever like talk too much about the movies. I mean, not that I remember, but anyway, but their acting was really good. Like both of, like when the killers get revealed, they act like really, really nuts, and they both act totally unhinged. Like the girl killer like keeps on like flipping back and forth. Like when she's winning a fight, she's like acting like totally badass, and when she's losing, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I've just been radicalized. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like it. And I liked the turnaround for the guy too. Like he seemed so sweet and like helpful and everything at the beginning, but then at the end he seems like so wicked and devious, and like it's really cool. It's a shame, since the movie wants to be like a whodunit. Like all of the Scream movies want to be like that. It means that like a lot of the best acting is like saved for like the very end of the movie, which it's kind of a shame, because I feel like these characters are a lot more fun once you know that they're completely insane. So, but I mean, that's just, it's not really a gripe. It's more like just, hey, that's the way how this goes. But let's see. So I guess yeah, So I guess I should backtrack and talk about the main character. I say that she like went away and she did a lot of drugs. It's like that felt really half-baked. Like they didn't really talk about like what she was doing and like how her recovery was going or anything. Like she was taking like some pills at the beginning of the movie, which I assume must have been like some sort of like detoxing kind of thing, where like some sort of replacement for some drugs that she was addicted to, but it felt very like off on the side. And so she was like the daughter of Billy Loomis, and they got like Skeet Ulrich to come back for this movie, and he like appears to her as like a ghost or like a figment of her imagination or something like that, and keeps on like talking to her. And I thought that was a pretty cool choice. Like he looked cool. Like he like had stab wounds and that sort of thing. It wasn't like too overdone. It wasn't like super gross, or he didn't look like a rotting corpse or anything, but like he looked like a dead guy. Like I wouldn't say it wasn't like as cool as like American Werewolf in London. Like that's like the way how you do a dead friend. Like that guy looked awesome. But anyway, like he still looked pretty cool. And I liked the idea that she was getting these visions from her dad that were like trying to like tell her, trying to give her guidance, but it felt like it didn't really do that much. Like at the very end of the movie, when she like before she stabs her ex-boyfriend after he's revealed to be the killer, she like goes nuts and stabs him like fucking like 15 times or something, and like really goes for it. And I thought that was cool, but I kind of wanted to see more of like a build up. Like I was thinking it would be really neat if her dad was like egging her on all the time, like if he was like telling her like, oh yeah, you gotta be the killer, you gotta make them afraid of you or something like that. And it made her like kind of switch like earlier in the movie and do something like really like messed up. Like maybe she like stabs someone like on a hunch or something like that, or she like does something crazy, like pushes someone like off the balcony and off of like a hunch, and then it turns out that she's right, but like she didn't know that she was right when she did it. Like I felt like if they would have done a little something like that, it would have really like sold the idea of like, oh, she's got like this baggage from having a dad who's like a psychopath, and so like she's kind of got a bit of that to deal with on her own. But it felt like it was a little underdone. And like, so one of the earlier times that her dad like appears to her is like when she's in the hospital with her sister, and her dad is like talking to her saying like, oh, no one's ever gonna believe you, everyone thinks that you're crazy. And then she gets attacked by Ghostface, and then she runs away, and she gets a cop, and the cop comes into the room where they had been fighting, and it's like Ghostface, when he went after her, he like stabbed into this bulletin board when like he stabbed at her and he missed, but then they like knocked over all these chairs, and then she ran out, and when the cop came back in with her, Ghostface wasn't there, and all the chairs were knocked over. And I was like looking at the bulletin board, and I thought that when I looked at the bulletin board that it was like pristine, like it looked like he had stabbed through some papers, but then when I looked at it again, it looked like there wasn't a stab. And so I don't know, maybe I missed the detail, maybe it was a continuity error, but I hope like at that moment after that happened, I thought like, whoa, wouldn't it be so cool if like she was like a straight up schizophrenic, like if she was like hallucinating things. I was like, that would make this movie so cool, right? Like that's like in Scream 3, there were like a couple of scenes where Sydney was seeing like visions of her mom, but it was like mostly like bad dreams, I think, if that's how it goes. But like I thought, wouldn't it be cool if she knew like part of like the drug withdrawals, like maybe since they weren't too clear on what drugs she was doing, like maybe she was doing some drugs that like really messed with her head and like gave her like vivid hallucinations and delusions. And I thought like that would be really neat, that like there could actually be some killers going around stabbing people, killing them, and then here she is, and she's like, I'm seeing things that aren't there, I'm thinking that I'm being attacked by the killer when I'm not. And like maybe she had just knocked over the chairs by herself, and like the cop is looking, and she like tells him the story. She's like, yeah, so he stabbed at me and he stabbed into the bulletin board. And like she looks at the bulletin board and she sees the stab wound. And then he's like, what are you talking about? There's no stab here. And then she's like, what? And then she sees like the normal bulletin board, and she's like, oh my God. Because then you could do like a lot of things like later on where maybe she would like see one of her friends like with a bloody knife with like the ghost face cloak on, like running away. And then she would be like, oh my God, did I see the truth or did I see a lie? And like, it would be kind of cool if like the movie did like messed with that, where like maybe she did see some lies and some truths, and she couldn't tell what it was and we couldn't tell. And then it could, I don't know, it could really like make the movie have a distinct like visual style from the other ones, and they would have a pretty good reason to do it. So I kind of wish that they would have went that route, and it would have like made the more serious aspects of it, like the family drama things with like her abandoning her family and her sister being mad at her and all that. Like, I feel like that would have worked a little bit better if they tried to incorporate it more, but they didn't. So, Oh yeah, so the movie does have like Dewey and Sydney and Gale all come back, and like there's a confrontation in a hospital where like somehow Ghostface is able to like make an entire like floor of a hospital like lose power and kills a cop off screen and is like coming after the sister again. And so like Dewey is fighting Ghostface at this point, like they're trying to save the sister, and Dewey like pops off a few rounds into Ghostface, and then like Ghostface slumps over. And I was thinking, like, man, I just really want to see Dewey like unload into Ghostface. Like, just like he had a 6-shooter, but he had like an extra clip. So like I thought it would have been so sweet if he would have like shot 3 times and then like reloaded, got up and like shot 6 times into Ghostface's head. That would have been sweet. And then like he pulls the mask off like after that, but he doesn't. The Ghostface slumps, and then they're like, "We got to get out of here." And then they get into the elevator, and then Dewey's like, "You know what? Maybe you guys got to get out of here. I got to put one in his head, because I decided that now." And then he like slowly walks up to Ghostface, it's so baffling, because it's like the reason why he's doing it is because he assumes that Ghostface is still alive, but then he's like being nonchalant about it. It's like the purpose is to kill Ghostface because Ghostface is still alive, but the methodology is like Ghostface is already dead, so I don't really need to do this. This is just perfunctory. And like that sort of disconnect just makes it like not make a lot of sense. And then Ghostface gets up and kills Dewey, and it looks pretty badass. It looks sweet. Like Ghostface like stabs both like the stomach and the back of Dewey and like lifts him up. So it looks cool, but it felt like very tacked on and kind of forced. And so it's a bit of a bummer in that regard. And then like Gale and Sydney come, and they're like sad that Dewey's dead, and they're going to like bring guns to like try to avenge his death, and they go for it. And there's like a point where they come up to this house, like, and one of the killers is pretending like they're a victim, and then they like see through the bullshit, and which that's kind of cool, but then it ends up not amounting to much, because like the killer pulls a gun and shoots Gale, and Gale like takes a stomach wound and like goes down. And then they like come up. And so in a lot of these movies, the killer is going to try to frame someone. So that's kind of why they don't like kill everybody right from the get-go, because they're like, well, I need to kill everybody but one person. Then I'm going to like make it look like you tried to kill me, but I survived, and now everybody will think you're the killer. And so they kind of set it up for that. Like they're going, like, I wasn't sure if they were actually going to try to let the main character live, which that would have been really confusing, because what would they have expected her to do after that? But anyway, it like the problem with that is like, why wouldn't they kill Gale and Sydney? Like, if they're trying to make the main character look like she's the killer, then what's the point of like toying with Gale and Sydney? There really isn't one. So they do, and that's what lets Gale and Sydney live. But it seemed kind of out of nowhere. So, or not out of nowhere, out of like, well, we don't want to blow our whole load in in the 5th movie. We want to save being able to kill them for sequels or something like that. But I was like, I don't know. If you're going to do it that way, then really go for it. Or just like not have them be in in such a dangerous situation. I don't know, but it felt like kind of forced. But at least it does set up so that like you get what do you call it? Sydney like breaks a bottle of like vodka on one of the killers, and then Gail like shoots the killer into a lit stove, and then she like lights on fire, which was pretty cool. Like they did that practically. Like you could kind of see that the person was wearing one of those like flame retardant like beekeeper mask type things that they have, but it still looked pretty cool and it was pretty epic. But yeah, so then in the other room, like you got the main character is like stabbing her boyfriend a million times, and then Gail and Sydney come in, and then they're like, you know, they always get up for one last scare. And then she's like, no, he's not. And then she like takes the gun and like shoots him a bunch of times. So I was like, that was pretty cool. I liked that they did that. I kind of wished it would have happened earlier with Dewey, but at least they did do that thing where someone was like shooting someone who kind of looked like they were dead, but they're like, hey, this is a horror movie, so we're gonna just blow their brains out just to be sure. And yeah, I liked that. That was cool. But then yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I'd say like the movie was pretty fun. Oh, I guess, you know what? I didn't even talk. I've talked all about the ending. I didn't even talk about the opening scene, which I thought was one of the more interesting things. Like, I feel like the opening scene of the first Scream is like the best. That's like probably the coolest part of the whole series, is just like that Drew Barrymore opening scene. I mean, like, excuse me, the whole first movie is pretty cool, but like that first scene is awesome, where Ghostface calls and like asks what's her favorite scary movie. So they do something a lot like that in this one, but it's like Ghostface calls and he's like really nonchalant and like just has a meandering conversation with her. He's like not calling for it. He's calling the main character's sister. It's like, this is before she gets stabbed a bunch of times, right? So he's calling her, and he's like, he wants to get in touch with the main character, because he says that he's in her group, and then he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, like it's supposed to be anonymous. And then the sister's like, yeah, which anonymous? Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, which one is it? And he's like, I'm not supposed to say. And it was really cool to like see Ghostface like act like he's just some regular guy. Like the voice, it's totally recognizable, but it's not like menacing. And it's cool to see him kind of like work up to it. And they start talking, and it turns out that like the main character's sister is like a really big fan of like A24 like horror movies, and other things that are like, you know, more like cerebral kind of horror movies. And they talk a lot about, well, I mean, they talk a lot about them. They like mostly just name drop them. They like do a little bit of like, you know, 2 or 3 sentences of analysis or something. But I mean, this is like a movie. Like you don't want to bog down and like have someone giving a really in-depth analysis of like their favorite scary movie. But it was kind of cool to like see him like talk to her about that and get her actually talking about her favorite scary movie, like before she realizes what's up and like how freaky this is. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah. So all in all, I'd say like the movie, like I know I'm like talking a lot about the things that don't make so much sense to me or that didn't work, but I don't know, it's easier to talk about that, right? I mean, especially like without having the movie here in front of me where I could like watch it again and be like, okay, so this scene, this was really awesome. This other scene, this was really awesome. I mean, that's why I really like doing my reviews, like in the more editing heavy kind of way, because I really get to like see what really works about a movie and like rewatch it and pay a lot more close attention. But, you know, I wanted to be able to do something that was kind of timely and put it out there. So don't worry. I'm not falling behind. I'm going to release my second shade of horror for the 50 Shades of Horror on Saturday, tomorrow. So yeah. But yeah, as far as Scream 5 goes, I'd say pretty good. You know, it's like I really want to rewatch the first one to make sure it's as good as I remember it, because like I said in the other video, I think that like I last watched it in like 2019, so like a little bit over 2 years ago. But yeah, I remember it being a lot of fun, and this movie had those fun parts, but it felt like it was a little bit too long in between. And like the movie was only 2 hours, but I don't know, it kind of felt longer than that. And maybe it's because of that like hurry up and wait kind of feel for it. So I feel like this, like my favorite version of the movie would probably be closer to an hour and a half, but that's just because I'm really impatient, you know, like I want to get to the fun stuff. So yeah, I feel like this is coming off as more negative than it would be, because this is a solid recommend. I've definitely I saw Halloween Kills like a couple months ago. I saw Candyman a couple months ago. This is a lot better than both of those movies, in my opinion. It like has certain things where you're like, well, this doesn't make too much sense. But in terms of like it being like entertaining and like having likable characters and generally having a good plot, like it's pretty good. So yeah, like not flawless or anything, but certainly worthwhile. And I really like it. Like comparing it to I saw The Matrix Resurrections like a little while ago. I hated that. That was like the worst. And this, I was like, yeah, this movie felt like that movie was trying to be a very self-aware meta kind of sequel that was making commentary on the franchise, and like it felt very cynical, and like it was talking down to you, and like almost like they didn't like their own fans. Like they were like, yeah, if you like The Matrix, you suck. So here's a Matrix movie. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, weird. Like, it seems like that's what a parody of The Matrix might do or something. But anyway, but like this movie felt like it was like a self-aware meta sequel. I mean, the series has always been meta, but like this is very much about like talking about how you reinvent something and you bring it back after it's been gone for so long. And it felt like a lot, like it made sense why it was doing that. Like, and it worked. Like it never felt like it was talking down to you, or like it thought that you were bad for liking them. In fact, like I was saying that the main character's sister was like a big like A24 fan, and so she liked these movies, and then Ghostface is like, yeah, that sounds pretty boring to me. And I thought that was cute. I was like, yeah, like this movie like wants to have some fun with it, and I really like that. So I felt like they could have had more fun with it, but it's not like they had no fun with it. There were definitely some funny parts, and it looked so like sleek and professional, and it looked very like grisly and realistic. Like maybe the scenarios weren't totally realistic, but the actual like violence looked pretty visceral and compelling, and I was like wincing a few times. So yeah, like I thought it was pretty cool, and I would definitely recommend it. I mean, obviously, if you're watching this, you really should have seen it already, but I'm saying like I feel like you should, like you wouldn't be disappointed, or you shouldn't be. I mean, if you are, like, hey, if anybody watched this and you were disappointed, I'd like to know why. but I mean, if you liked it too, I want to know why. Like, if you, is that kind of where it falls for you guys? Like that, like I put them, like I said, like first movie, then the fifth, then the second. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Strike that. First movie, fifth movie, fourth movie, second movie, third movie. But my partner, she's pretty close to me. I think she might switch like the second and the third. I think she likes the third a little bit more than the second. And she might like the fourth one a little bit more than this. And I don't really blame her. I feel like these are really close. Like, I would say that Scream is only a little bit above the rest of them. No, when I say a little bit, okay. So, I have like my own little rating system. So I guess I should explain that really quickly, and that'll probably make this make more sense. So I basically have like 7 ratings that I like to give things, where we have like 5 recommended ratings and then 2 don't recommend ratings. So we go like S is like strongest possible recommend, like you must see. A is like, this is excellent. This is well above average, great time. You won't regret it. But, you know, a little bit below S, like not necessarily a must see. And that's where Scream lands. And I would say that none of the other movies really land in that category, other than, like, I would say Scream 5 lands in that category specifically for like a meta horror movie. Then we have B, that's just like a solid recommend. That's like, you know, you'll have a good time. I think it's a good movie. It's like certainly not flawless, maybe not even excellent, but it's still quite good and definitely worth your time. So, and then we have, and that's where I'd say most of them, like 5, 4, and 2 would probably all land in B, but probably just in different shades of it. But like all close, like I'd say 5 and 4 are really close. It's just sort of like what you're looking for. If you're looking for more polish, I'd go with 5. If you're looking for more of a fun time, I'd go with 4. But anyway, and like 2 is not that far behind either. But again, I'm just a little bit fuzzy on it, so I'd want to revisit them. Like C is just like, it's still a recommend, but this is like a more of a somewhat recommend. And where I'm like, it's okay, you know, it's decent, but not like I could see where you might want to pass on this one, but you probably don't have to, and you certainly wouldn't have a terrible time watching it, but it's maybe a little bit more flawed. And that's kind of where I'd put Scream 3, but it's kind of towards the high end of that. It's really not that bad. But not to say that C is a bad rank at all. Then D is like, this is only like somewhat recommend. This is like, D is where I say, sure, you could see it, but like you probably don't have to see it. But you know, if you don't have anything else to do, you're on a flight or something, or you're just like really curious about it, like, yeah, go ahead, see it, but it's sort of like a take it or leave it kind of thing. And so all 5 of those are like recommend. I would say, like, we are rating movies and they're meant to be entertaining. So like getting a D, like below average entertaining, you're still entertained. It's, you know, you're still having a decent time. And then like E and F, and so none of the Scream movies would really fall into D for me. And then E and F. E is like, I don't recommend it, but at least it has something going for it. It's like, I respect it on some sort of level, like an attempt was made. And that's kind of where I feel like about with Halloween Kills, right? And that's a movie where I'm like, most of the movie is like pretty bad, and it's a waste of time for the most part. But it's like there's a little bit there. Like I really feel like once we get Halloween and Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, that there's like a way how to edit all of them together into like one, like maybe 3 or maybe 2.5 hour movie or something. That would be really cool. And you would use some stuff from Halloween Kills. So that's why I'd say, like, don't recommend it, but like, the better parts of it are good. Like Michael Myers seems like a total badass in that movie. And like there's some stuff towards the beginning of the movie that's pretty good, like in the flashback sequences. I thought that in Halloween Kills, those were pretty cool. But all in all, I'd say, like, the evil dies tonight. The movie becomes like really trashy. So yeah, I would say that's a don't recommend. And then like F is like, that's like Matrix Resurrections, where I'm like, it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of everybody's time. Like, it would probably be better if they didn't make this movie. Like, it doesn't seem inspired, it doesn't seem entertaining. Just like avoid this movie altogether. And yeah, like there's nothing really worth it. Like, I don't know, like if you just want to like listen to Jefferson Airplane White Rabbit or something, and the only way that you have to listen to it is someone has a copy of Matrix Resurrections, then like, turn the television off but leave the speakers on and just play that one scene. I don't know. That's like about the best that you can get from that. But anyway, so yeah, that's my 7 tiers. So yeah, I would say the Scream franchise lands, like, we got Scream up here in A, and then we got Scream 5, 4, and 2 all in B, and then we got 3 in C. So it's not too bad of a franchise. I feel pretty good about it. I like the franchise overall, but it's not like it's filled with a bunch of S tier movies where I'm like, oh my god, these movies are amazing. But I'd say like it's definitely worth your time. So yeah, that's my big rambly thing about it. So yeah, I give it a solid recommend. If you want to see a slasher movie, you could definitely do a lot worse. And it's fun at times, and I feel like this is the kind of thing where like you can tell that they want to make a Scream 6. So yeah, I hope that they can. I definitely want to see a sequel to this, and I feel like if they made it a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, and or a little crazier, or if you're really going to try to go that like dramatic route, like go all in on it, like so that you could recommend this movie to someone who was really looking for that. Yeah. See, I said this is a spoiler free review, but I'm sorry, I said this was a spoiler review, but I do want to avoid spoiling my 50 Shades of Horror, because there are plenty of movies that I could talk about to kind of like, talk about some more serious horror movies to compare this to, but those are on my list and I don't want to spoil those. So, but I'll just say once I get to them in the list, you'll see what I'm talking about, where I feel like Scream 5 probably doesn't go that strongly in that route. So I feel like they really got to pick their lane and stick with it. And for me, I feel like it makes the most sense to go the fun route, because there were definitely scenes in this movie where that was there and it was working. So I say go with it. And I'd like to see more. And they left some of the more fun characters alive by the end of it. Not all of them, but I mean, hey, a lot of them were the killers. But I mean, they got to go out in blazes of glory. Like that lady that like, went up in flames. She even like does that like final scare where she comes back and she's like all burnt up and like running after them with a knife. And I was freaking sweet. So it's like, yeah, like that was pretty great. So yeah, I would say if this movie was edited the right way, I'd say it could go all the way up to an A. So that's a pretty good endorsement in my opinion. It's like, just, you gotta, deal with a little bit of like waiting around. But anyway, yeah. So I liked it. I hope you guys liked it too. And yeah, so there you go. A couple of unscripted reviews from Roommate, and yeah, we're gonna get back to the 50 Shades of Horror here in a few hours. I'll upload that other video. I was hoping to upload these both on Friday, but I don't know what time it is, so it might be too late. But I'm gonna try. So if I don't, I'll like upload 3 videos on Saturday. So all right, see you guys later. Bye.